Well, Vanessa, thanks for being here on the show. I'm really excited to have you here. I've known you for several years now and always been really like into your business. What you guys do is super cool. So let's start there. Just kind of tell the listeners what you do.
So I work in the travel industry, which, I'm obviously biased. I believe it's the greatest industry in the world. It's truly amazing, the opportunities that exist in travel. There really are endless. And for an entrepreneur, there are so many different paths to take in travel. And I mean, hello, it's travel. So, my subject matter is amazing. So it's what we do is we basically run a travel management company. So Gifted Travel Network is not a consumer-facing brand, which is often, a little confusing, especially to my own family and friends who come to me to book travel. So we are not the direct sellers of the travel experiences. Our company exists to support those who are selling travel. So we have about 300 independent contractors. They're travel advisors running their own independent businesses under their own brands and identities that are a consumer-facing brand all around the country. And so their businesses essentially are hooked into our company, which is essentially an umbrella company for the 300 businesses that exist around the country. And there are several independent contractors, independent businesses that exist here that fall under a Gifted Travel Network in the Lake Norman region. And when we have partners that come into town from cruise lines or destinations, tour operators, we always have a great time bringing our advisors together and showing off this area. So that's sort of our business in a nutshell. There's a lot to unpack with what we do, but we're running up a fairly significant company in the travel industry, which I always like to say in the epicenter of the travel industry, Mooresville, North Carolina, which of course is ironic because it's not. But it's a beautiful destination. Of course, we love to show it off when our partners come to see us.
Yeah, we're Lake Norman's now getting known for like one of the top lakes to travel to. Did you see the?
I saw it. So recently it was featured in a national trade story.
From Stay Lake Norman, they have like one of the top rated VRBOs from 2022, I think.
Yeah.
I actually videoed that house.
Very cool.
Super cool.
There's a huge development now in Langtree for a 5-star hotel that will be opening, I believe, in 2025, which is sorely needed for the area.
My wife's on the SICDC, so we get to hear all of like the Southern Iredell stuff that's coming, and that hotel is like really cool.
It's going to be amazing. I'm excited.
So one thing I found really cool about what you guys do, Vanessa, is you do a part of the business, I guess, is like education for travel advisors, people starting. So talk about that.
Thank you. So at the heart of what we do for supporting travel business owners is our education, and that is really our point of differentiation from other travel management companies that are similar business model to us. So we are very passionate about entrepreneurship. And we're very passionate about helping travel advisors learn how to be business owners, because a lot of people who get into the business of selling travel, they get into it initially because they love travel. And some people, it's just a natural sort of extension of what they're already doing because their family and friends come to them for advice because they travel themselves. And then they start selling travel, but then they realize they've got this book of business, but they don't actually know how to run a business. They're really good at making recommendations on destinations and cruise lines, but all of a sudden they wake up, a couple of years later and they have a business. And so our role in all of this and how we educate is how to help you monetize your passion for travel and how to sustain and scale your book of business so that you can really live the life you want through your passion of travel and, pursue entrepreneurship. So we educate advisors from every stage of the entrepreneurial journey. So if you're completely new to selling travel and you want to do this as a living and you want to replace your full-time income, we can help you. And we have a 12-month program that exists to support those that fall into that category. And we also support travel business owners that maybe are affiliated with another travel management company like ours, but are receiving the level of entrepreneurship and business educational support in order to run their business, like having conversations about P&L reports or how to understand their profitability, or things like how to hire. Do you hire an IC? Do you hire an employee? What's the difference? These types of conversations are typically not sort of happening in travel companies. It's all about the latest and greatest cruise ship that's coming out or the destination that's hot and trending. Well, we really focus on the business side of it. And we really leaned into that for the last 10 years.
Well, and I've had the opportunity, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago, to be part of some of the webinars you guys have done. So I've kind of seen like firsthand, you guys really take like a nuts and bolts. Like I think the webinar we did together was like all about email newsletters and just like why travel advisors need email. So I say that just to say it's like, no kidding, you guys are like nuts and bolts, really deep into the details of running these businesses.
I love that you brought up email marketing. I really believe that's at the heart and soul of any business in the digital age. And
it just keeps coming up.
Right? Well, it's so important. And in fact, we refer to their weekly email newsletter, which is what we teach to be consistent, because consistency builds confidence, is that their email is essentially equivalent to a virtual storefront, is how we equate it. So, 20 years ago, before the internet, you wanted to book a trip, you walked into a brick and mortar store on Main Street, USA, you took a brochure off the rack, you sat in front of a travel advisor and you said, I want to do that trip. That's typically how travel was sold, before the internet. And since the internet, the landscape of travel has sold, and travel advisors, for the most part, over the last 2 decades, sort of disappeared from Main Street, USA, and many of them now operate their businesses from their home offices. So many of them do have brick and mortar offices, but they're not, it's by appointment. It's not like anybody can just sort of come in and start booking. And so because of that, it is critical that travel business owners do an email newsletter, because they have to stay top of mind. They have to show up in inboxes. It's like, it's not that if there was a travel agency on Main Street, USA, next to the grocery store, next to, whatever store 20 years ago, it's not like they went into the travel agency every single day or every single week when they did their local grocery run, but they saw it there and they knew it was there. And when it's time to go book their travel, they would remember to go to that agency. The same is true with email, right? It's not, we tell our advisors all the time, your email newsletter isn't going to get read every week. It's okay. Just come to terms with that now. But that's not what it's about. It's about staying top of mind.
Love it. So something you mentioned, so back, I guess before I met you, which maybe 2018, 2019, something like that, I would have thought that with the internet and Expedia and stuff like that, travel agents, travel advisors weren't as important anymore. Now I know, because I follow you, why that's not the case. But for people out there that don't really know, like, why it's so great to work with a travel advisor, like, how do you start that conversation?
Oh, such a good conversation and a great question. And there is a misconception about travel advisors. And look, there's always going to be somebody in your life that loves to DIY their travel. And for that, just let them. Have at it. Good luck and Godspeed, especially in today's environment. And it's all good, right? There's travel planning for all different types of trips and vacation experiences. So, but today, because of the internet, there's so much information out there, almost too much information, and anybody can leave a review. Anybody can say anything about anything. And so when you're working with a trusted travel advisor that's vetted, that belongs to our National Trade Association, the American Society of Travel Advisors, that's hooked into a company like Gifted Travel Network, that belongs to a larger conglomerate like Virtuoso, who we belong to, you can be rest assured that not only are you working with a professional whose job it is to know everything there is to know about the ins and outs of the industry to help you, take your vacation dollars, your investment, and spend it wisely, but you're going to get access and you're going to get support. Then you're going to learn about opportunities that you may never have even known existed. Even if it's a straightforward cruise booking, like it seems fairly straightforward, right? But did you know about the specialty dining experience that you could get, but then you don't know until you get on board and then it's sold out? Or the special excursion that you could do?
Sure. Well, so again, I came from a sort of DIY travel, like that was just how I thought about things. And we had...
That has made everybody an expert.
Yeah, right. And we had a conversation, and then my wife and I were planning a trip to Disney World with our kids. And so I think I asked you, I believe, for a recommendation, and you connected me with somebody in your network, and it was amazing. And there were so many things, because it's like, well, I'm thinking like, we're going to Disney World. Like, what is there really to, and it was like, oh my gosh, the amount of inside information and like everything from, she's like, most people go right to left. You should go left to right as you're going through the park, and because you'll have less lines that way. And told us, 60 days in advance is when you can book these restaurant reservations. And just like, it was an unbelievable wealth of knowledge, things that
to unpack
Yeah.
the Disney experience.
Yes.
And I took our family to, we did the big Disney experience last March, and we used one of our travel advisors. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole because there's just so much to know, and I don't want to disappoint my family. I want to make sure we have the best seats at the best restaurant for the best fireworks show. And, you know, and an advisor knows all of
Yeah. And to your point, it's like we were there for 3 days, so it's kind of a quick trip. Disney's kind of a little bit on the pricey side. So it's like, okay, like, but working with her, I feel like we got like triple the enjoyment out of it that we otherwise would have, because it's like time is precious, and like,
it. It's precious.
yeah.
You can always make more money. You can't get your time back.
My wife is going to be so excited that I'm hearing this. So when we were 21 years old, her 21st birthday, I mean, we have no money. We just graduated college. And I was like, I'm going to take her to Notre Dame. She likes Notre Dame. She's never been there. We're going to go watch a football game. I had a guy that played high school with me that went to Notre Dame. He gave us free tickets. I'm like, cool. It's about the only way I can afford it. So my travel planning was, I'm going to get us to Notre Dame, and I got the tickets. That's all I did. Like, I got us flights and free tickets to the game, and we didn't have a hotel. I'm like, oh, it's football. Like, it's a city. We can just go after the game and go get a hotel. We drove. One, I didn't get us a car, so when we got there, I had to go find a rental car. And then we had to drive like an hour and a half to 2 hours after the game because every single hotel was already booked all the way out. Yeah. And she's like, you will never book a trip for us.
You got to plan it. You got to plan ahead. And
I planned. Yeah. That was my plan. I was like, Notre Dame football game, and that's it.
And sometimes, with seemingly straightforward hotel bookings, could you book it on your own? Absolutely. But, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And there's certain hotels that partner with travel advisors really strongly. And so if you're working with a travel advisor that has access to what we call hotel elite programs, you're going to get access because of the affiliation of the travel advisor that is not available to the traveling public. So you might get upgraded upon booking, not just when you arrive. You have first priority. You have, if there's dining reservations that you need and every restaurant is sold out because you use that specific travel advisor with that specific affiliation, they will move mountains to make sure you get what you need. So there's a lot to be said for using a travel advisor.
Well, and we haven't even talked yet about like international, but like, those international trips get so much more complicated. There's so many more variables. So talk a little bit about how, travel advisors can help specifically with like international travel.
Well, I think that everybody and their mother is going to Italy right now, and Italy is exploding currently. So this is an excellent example right now with a hot trending summer destination. And since the pandemic, it was predicted during the pandemic that Americans would want to go back as their first big international trip. A lot of Americans would want to select an international destination that they had already been to. That was sort of a perennial destination that they had some kind of emotional affiliation.
Surprised it's not Paris.
Paris is France is also exploding at the seams. In all fairness, I had a few things in my inbox this morning for Italy, so that's top of mind. But yes, France, UK was also listed as one of the top destinations by Travel and Leisure this year. So let me paint a scenario for you right now, especially with Italy and France. It's very difficult to secure guides and drivers right now. So if you are not working with a travel advisor, the chances of you getting a car service from the airport to the hotel without any kind of drama or any kind of wait or any kind of...
I would for sure just show up and be like, oh, it'll be easy.
It's so hard right now. And not to mention, Italians love a good train strike. And so what if that happens when you're in destination? Who is going to be handling all that for you? In fact, this morning I woke up to an email from one of our destination management companies in Italy. They had rearranged an entire excursion and day for a family that booked through a GTN, a Gift to Travel Network advisor. Because of the train strike, they couldn't do what they wanted to do. This happened all in the middle of the night. The travel advisor obviously didn't even know what was going on, but because they partnered with a company that we work with in Italy, their boots on the ground, everything was rearranged seamlessly. So the guest was able to continue on with their trip, just a little rearranging, no big deal. But when you're working with partners like that know where to go, what to do, how to rearrange things, your trip won't be interrupted. Or, things happen, a water main will break and, the 7th floor of the hotel is flooded. Like, who's going to take care of you? Your travel advisor. and that's not specific to international, but
Right.
back to your question, like you need somebody in your corner helping you.
Right. And that is something that, I've learned kind of following you guys over the years, is that it's not just about the planning. It's about if something goes wrong on the trip, the
Right.
hotel issues. It's amazing to have, a resource and a team that can help you salvage it.
It's true. And listen, we all work really hard and our vacation is precious. And it's not just a financial investment, but it's also a mental investment. We need to be able to disconnect to reconnect. And if we don't have people helping us along the way, you're constantly having to think about all these details when you're traveling. And traveling can be stressful in today's environment, especially if you haven't been traveling internationally. Airports are busy, lines are long, people are cranky. You need things to go well when you're on your trip.
Yeah. So how does somebody choose a travel advisor?
Good question. I think start by visiting their online presence, whether it's social media or their website, and see if their brand resonates, especially for the type of travel. If you're just getting married and maybe you want to work with maybe you're doing a destination wedding, or you want to work with somebody that specializes in honeymoons. Maybe you want to look for a romance travel specialist. Maybe you're further along in that journey and you've got kids and you want to do the big family trip or multi-gen trip. There are travel advisors that specialize in that. There are travel advisors that specialize in specific destinations like Africa or Australia or something of that nature. So you want to find a travel advisor that resonates not just for your style of travel, but also with their level of knowledge for the destination or the type of experience as well. So I would just start by talking to the travel advisor. Obviously travel advisors will do consults, and so just talk to them and ask them about their access, ask them about the types of trip experiences that they've done or who they're affiliated with, and just have an open-hearted conversation and see if there's resonance there.
Love it. That makes a ton of sense.
I feel like this is a topic, like we have so many small business owners that are listening, in the local area. And it's like the hardest thing for me and my wife is to go on vacation.
Time.
Like, I mean, you get tied to your business. You feel like, oh, I can't leave. Like, you can leave. Like, trust me, you can leave. It's not going to blow up in 3 days. But like when you go on vacation, it's like you want it to be relaxing and you want to like have a good time and enjoy it. So if you do like me and just show up and say, well, we'll figure it out when we get there, it's not quite as fun because I stress my wife out. So I think it's smart to be able to find somebody that can, guide you along and give you some good things to do.
Yeah. There's so much to consider in a really seamless vacation planning experience. And I know, and also there's those of us that want to be involved in the vacation planning experience. So back to your original question of how do you find the right travel advisor, that's also important too. So if you're listening and you've never worked with a travel advisor and you love the research phase of it, make sure you tell that to your travel advisor so that you're part of the collaboration process. Some people just want to turn it all over. If that's you, then tell that to the travel advisor and make sure that it's the right fit.
Love it. Super cool. So you have a super cool job for a lot of different reasons. One of which is just, we're friends on Facebook and I see the cool destinations you get to go to. Tell us about a cool trip you've been on recently.
Oof, well, that's a big question because I just came back from a really amazing 2 weeks in Europe. So I was invited by one of our partners in the UK, Noteworthy, to attend the festivities surrounding the coronation. So I was in London, I stayed at the Savoy, and then I was at Raffles, which is actually the Old War Office, which is a historic building in the UK that's now being converted into a 5-star hotel. It'll be opening this summer. So I was able to watch the procession of the coronation. I saw little Louis's face pressed up against the carriage. It was really, really amazing experience. So London during the coronation was an experience I will absolutely never forget. So that will stay with me forever. And it was just, London was in its full glory over that long weekend. So that was amazing. And then from London, I flew directly to Mykonos, where I joined my team that flew from Lake Norman from here for our annual conference. So we gathered
casual in Greece.
Yeah, in Mykonos, we gathered about 100 of our members and partners. They flew in from all over the country and world to join us to participate in our conference in Mykonos. Mykonos in May was perfection because Mykonos in July is crowded. And I felt like we had the island in large in part due to our, there were less crowds. I wouldn't say to ourselves is what I was thinking I was going to say, but it was not busy at all. And it was really nice to be in a popular destination in slow season. So I definitely recommend, if you're working with a travel advisor, hopefully Gift to Travel Network one, to consider going to those types of destinations in the slow season because it's really nice. So I enjoyed Mykonos tremendously. We stayed at the Mykonos collection. They spoiled us. So that was my jaunt to Europe.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Okay, so
Super cool.
as we're winding down here, I have to ask, what is something on your travel bucket list that you haven't done yet?
African safari. I have not done that. African safari, Australia, New Zealand, and I have not been to Asia yet. Europe, South America, all over the U.S. I worked on cruise ships, spent several seasons in Alaska. So, I mean, I've traveled extensively, but those are main destinations.
Love it.
What's your favorite U.S. destination?
Oh my goodness.
Because that's a tough one. Like, where we live here. So,
Well,
but
during the pandemic, Americans rediscovered domestic.
yeah,
Big time. And I mean, we discovered domestic. It was amazing. Well, we would start getting commission checks to pay our advisors to these properties that I did recur. I'm like, what is Pause Up in Montana? All these checks kept coming. And I went and Googled it. You gotta look this up. Pause Up in Montana. Looks amazing. I want to do that.
Okay.
So that's a bucket list for me. I loved Mirabal Resorts. They are spa type wellness resorts. They've got one in Austin, Texas that I visited for a site inspection and meal. And my soul was like, oh my gosh, this is where I want to come to disconnect.
Austin, I keep hearing.
Austin's a great city.
Yeah.
And this is just outside of Austin. So it's a great property. I want to go to Sedona. That's a destination I want to spend more time in. And I did have the opportunity to travel to California during the pandemic, went for work, but I'd really love to do a drive down from San Francisco, San Diego with my family.
I've done San Francisco, San Diego, all that.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
There's so much to explore in the U.S. So much.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, Vanessa, thanks so much for joining us. How can people follow you guys, learn more about you?
Great question. Thanks for asking. So giftedtravelnetwork.com, our main point, there's our website, but we are active on social. So you can find us on Instagram at Gifted Travel Network, and you can connect with me personally on LinkedIn at Vanessa McGovern. I do a weekly newsletter that I publish now on LinkedIn that I started in January. And so I'd love to stay connected with your listeners in that way as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Vanessa.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.